انا مشرحها خلينا نظبطها شويه. انا مشرحها
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
شكرا يا بقى.
صباح الخير يا جماعه. مرحبا دكتور راشد. تعالى. فاكرين دكتور اسامه ان شاء الله يجي
ان شاء الله.
هنبدا بقى، كل واحد يعرف بنفسه قبل ما يحكي.
لا
بس
اوكي. ابراهيم تركي، احمد اروتي، محمد فرحان، نورا الستار، يوسف زين، ابراهيم بغدادي، واحمد سليم مسؤول مصر.
لا يعني يعمل لنا بس الديمو، يعني الانترودكشن الاول الموضوع، وبعد كده كل واحد يبلش بالديمو ان شاء الله. ابراهيم
We would like to welcome you in our presentation. To start, the USB hosting. Ever since computers have been around and we want to connect devices to it, screens, keyboards, mouse. Nowadays the PC power has grown so much and the users need so many tasks from the computer, and so many devices nowadays have been connected to the PC. So why do we need USBs? We have CDs, floppy disks, DVDs, keyboards, mouse, webcams, printers. Why do we need USB? If all of these are well working, so why do we need USB? Until recently, it was discovered that the available number of ports that we can connect to the PC is limited. So here comes the USB to the rescue. The USB is which is the abbreviation of Universal Serial Bus, has been devised in order to sustain the needs for computer hardware. We should note that computer hardware had a very difficult time for a fresh start design, because if we need to design anything, it should be compatible with what has previously been devised. So the computer hardware is somehow difficult to be manufactured, to be produced, to be coded. Now, if we had the chance to devise something new, some new interface, what are the main qualities that we want from the USB? Sorry. Okay. We are going to discuss why USB, the benefits of USB, the protocol applications, and problems that face the USB. Now, what are the design parameters that we search in for any interface? The interface must be easy to use. That is, the users do not have to tamper with configurations, do not have to tamper with setup detail. He doesn't have to be informed with all of these details. He just needs to plug in and he's ready to go. Now, the device interface must be fast, must be reliable so that errors are rare. And with the proper error correction methods, the errors will be rare. It should be flexible so that many kinds of peripherals can be used in the interface, inexpensive so that the users can be able to buy these products. Power conserving, which is very important in order to sustain the energy and conserve the power of the battery, especially if you are using battery-powered applications like the laptops. Supported by the operating system. It's not easy to devise a driver software. So developing such an interface is very hard, but the USB has done it all. The USB is referred to as the best thing that a computer happened to. It was designed from the ground level up in order to be simple and reliable. Now, in order for any product in the market to be successful, it needs to please two important audiences, whom are the users and the developers. Now, for the users, the USB is easy to use. Just plug and play. Fast, it's easy to connect, simple connections cables, reliable, errors are rare, low cost, low power consumption, one interface for many devices. We will talk about this later. in configuration is automatic. And this is very important because the user now is not interested in how to configure this device. The device, when you plug it, it automatically configures it. Now for the developers, and this is very important for the production of the USB device. USB is mainly flexible. You can see many USB applications like webcams, USB sticks, memory sticks, mouse, keyboards, printers. Now you can see all of these applications. So you can see how flexible the USB peripheral is. Operating system support. Now the companies of such as Microsoft and Macintosh has devised the operating system driver software in order to function the USB. Now what's so amazing about the USB is that it is international. That is, all the world can work with the USB protocol. You can log on into usb.org and you can take all the information that you need from ebooks, softwares, etc. Now, we can here see some of the USB applications. You can see the USB speakers, headphones, mouse, the wireless USB, webcam, pens, and even the keyboard. Now, this shows how flexible the USB is. Now, not everything is perfect. Even the USB with its magnificent aspects, it has some problems. The problems are speed limitations. The USB supports 3 kinds of speed: low speed, high speed, and full speed. Each one has its own characteristics, and each one supports certain types of applications. Distance limits. The connection from the device to through the wiring of the cable should not exceed a certain limit, 5 meters to be exact, because of the losses that happen inside the wiring cable. Developer challenges and protocol complexity. Now, any device, let's say a USB device, when he develops this product, he needs to abide by certain flow diagram in order for the USB device to be functioning properly. If he didn't abide by these laws, the USB device will not function properly. And last but not least is the need for a PC. Now I'm going to focus on this point. The need for the PC is extremely crucial for the USB to function. As you can see, all of these devices are now connected to the PC. But what if we are able to eliminate the PC and just put a small embedded system in such a way that you can operate the USB device without the intervention of the PC? Imagine how the capabilities of your application. The cost is now very much less. The USB is now more mobile than ever. Imagine one day you are walking around and you saw your friend, you have the USB stick but in your pocket. You want to show him a picture or something. Sorry, I don't have a PC right now, I will show you later. No, now with a small embedded system you can easily show it, as we shall see later. Now, how to work with the USB. In order for us, for the proper interface with the USB, we need to know certain aspects, terminology, so that we are not deviated from the real meaning, and the enumeration and PC host requests. These two aspects are important for the proper functioning of the USB device. Now, some terms that may follow on will emerge in our presentation are hubs, input-output device, composite device, the PC host, USB cable, endpoint, and packets. Now, each of these is a term that is defined by the USB org organization. The hub is where you connect to the PC. Now, the input-output device is clearly the device. The compound device and composite device are two applications, one that supports many USB applications in one, and the other is somehow one device support. The PC host, which is the PC that gives the enumeration and gives the requests in order to identify and recognize the PC and recognize the USB. The USB cable, which is normal. The endpoint, which is the main element of data transfer. packets. Now the packets are defined into three main parts: the start of frame, the PID, I think, sorry, and the end of frame packet. Now, what happens here is, at the moment that you are connecting to the PC, there are certain aspects that happens between connections between the device and the PC. You have three commands, which is the ACK, acquiring knowledge, acknowledge, and the NAC, all within the packets, and the stall. Each one happens when you connect to the PC. Now what happens here is, if the USB device is properly configured, it will send you an ACK command. However, if you have less power or improperly configured, a NAC command will appear at your screen. Now, the last thing, which is the stall, when there is something very wrong happening and the USB will never be configured. Now, each of these commands are defined by the USB org organization. Clear feature, get configuration, get descriptor, interface, status, address, configuration, descriptor, and feature. All of these requests are important in order to understand the USB. The values of these identifiers are determined by the USB log chapter 9, which is found in the USB manual. Now, the PC host requests are in the USB specification. Now, the enumeration process. What happens here is, at the moment that you plug in the device, the USB host waits for something to be inserted, waits for something to be plugged in. Now, at the moment that you plug into the USB port, the host learns that something new is attached. What happens here is, the hub sends information to see whether this device is low speed or full speed. That's extremely crucial in order for the proper configuration. Then the hub resets the device. Then again, it sees if the device is full speed, can support high speed. As we have previously explained, there are three types of speed: low speed, high speed, and full speed. Then there is the signaling that happens between the device and the PC host. The host sends a get descriptor, which was found in the PC host requests. A get descriptor in order to find the maximum packet size that it can support. Then it assigns an address in order to identify where to put this device. Okay, I know that this device is here and its configuration will start from here. Then it will find the device's abilities. What is it? A mouse, a keyboard, what is it? Then it loads the device driver in order to function. The host selects the proper configuration, installs it, then your device is ready to use. All of this happens in the blink of an eye. Okay. Now, mainly the USB is divided into the peripherals or the hosts. Peripherals are the devices that you connect to the PC, while the host is the one that receives the USB device. Now, our main objective in this project is USB hosting. That is, we devise a small embedded system that can interface with USB devices no matter what the kind was, whether it was a camera, a phone, any type of device. Now, if you would like to show him the applications or...
okay. Silicon Laboratories?
Okay. I have taken the part of Silicon Laboratories C8051 F32. Now, this kit is devised from Silicon Laboratories, which supports the USB peripheral. I should note that it does not work as a host, only a peripheral. That is a device.
طب تركي بليز يعني خلي الشباب يشرحوا الهوست انترفيس وانت ارجع بعد كده ده هو وحيد البريفرال.
اوكي.
شوفوا مين بعد.
بلش انا بعد يعني.
الانترودكشن اخذت وقت شويه بس يعني حاول بقى ايه يعني فوكس على الابلكيشن اللي انت عامله بالتحديد.
بلاش برزنتيشن ولا قبل شيء؟
نعم.
على
يعني ورينا السيركت لو وركينج والبرزنتيشن.
السيركت الاول
fine.
My project is using USB hosting using the microcontroller from Atmel 8090 USB 1286. I use it in HID application, keyboard and mouse for connecting keyboard and mouse, and CDC communication device class. I use it to communicate and identify mobile phone. Okay, let's see this at first. This call a number and this
طفل. انت
okay. Calling and hang up.
ATH. ATH.
This part of the project should be complementary to the project he used in the USB WizKit. It has lower, much less price, and this part can be used in security systems. For example, let's say you have a sensor for motion sensor or gas sensor or whatever. You send an SMS, you call 911, and you have many capabilities for controlling your PC, your phone.
I don't understand what's happening over here. You have a
This
microcontroller which is sitting between your
you can communicate this mobile phone to your microcontroller. This microcontroller
So
identifies
You've connected the mobile phone to the microcontroller.
This
Then you
just
have
for supply.
You have a connection.
That's just for
this is
USB
for
5
power
volts.
supply.
5 volts only. Yeah.
So the PC does not do any
No.
processing. Okay.
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 I'll have to move to the HID part بس بدي اعمل لود.
طب انت كده ما ضربتش رقم ولا عملت شيء يعني انت فين انهي رقم؟ رقمك ولا
عامل لا 1456 هذا كول فري باي 1000
يعني لوجيكالي كنت تضرب رقم احمد رقم يعني عشان بس تبين يعني مش مشكله يعني ماشي.
You can open loudspeaker.
يعني according to press الباتن. اوكي. كده بيعمل دايلنج according.
hang up.
Okay.
Okay, so the number is programmed inside your embedded system.
It can be used as a keypad to dial your requested number. لكن أول على الأسئلة
ماشي نحكي عن هذا. الفكرة الأساسية أنا صراحة أحكي عربي بس.
No problem. مفيش مشكلة.
ماشي.
ده كده كده.
ماشي. الفكرة الأساسية.
تفضل.
الفكرة الأساسية اللي كان عندي أنا أول سنة إنه أعمل security system بأرخص طريقة ممكن. صراحة أنا شفت من سنتين شفت على الإنترنت في كتير بروجكت عاملين على التليفون.
كمان.
انترفيس على التليفون بس كلهم مش معظمهم كلهم كانوا على تليفونات قديمة على سير الانترفيس. ولا واحد على الانترنت الحديث هلا قدر يعمل انترفيس مع تليفون موبايل USB تليفون. هلا بقول لك ليه؟ لأنه طلع في كذا شغلة بالصدفة اكتشفناها مش الحال. هلا شو كانت الفكرة؟ الفكرة على أساس يستعمل هيدي اللي معه USB هوست مايكرو كنترولر لأنه أرخص طريقة ممكنة $6 MS برودكشن. وبصير بيكلفنا البروجكت أرخص شيء ممكن. بس الفكرة إنه القصة كانت صعبة وجديدة وما كنا مأكدين إنه حنخلص كل شيء بالوقت المناسب. فشو عملنا؟ بلشنا أول شيء تيمز، هو أنا وياه تيم وأنا لحالي تيم. فالفكرة أنا أخذت هذه اليو اس بي ويز هي موديول بتعمل USB هوستنج، فيها ARM، فيها دوت نت فريم ورك، نسخة مصغرة من ويندوز، بتشتغل كهوست على اليو اس بي. بس شو فكرتها انه كلوزد بوكس، ما ضروري تعرف اي شيء عن اليو اس بي، بتقدر تعمل انترفيس على سي دي سي، اتش اي دي، اي شيء يو اس بي، كذا شغله، برينتر، ماس ستورج ديفايس، فايل سيستم. نحن بس صراحه عزناها مشان السي دي سي. فهو مبدئيا انا بلشت فيها هيدي الفصل الاول، الحمد لله خلصت الفصل الاول، عملت الابلكيشن، خلصت سكيورتي سيستم جاهز، انضميت عليه فصل ثاني وان شاء الله الحمد لله قدرنا نخلصها يعني اسبوعين تقريبا. الفكره هون السكيورتي سيستم اللي انا عملته، ماشي بس نعمل له بلاج. ماشي السيستم اللي انا عملته، اول ما ينعمل بلاج ان التليفون بيتعرف عليه ناقص 3300. مبدئيا هو البوش باتنز المفروض يكون عباره عن سنسورز، فاي سنسور بصير اكشن مثلا ايه، اول شيء بنعمل كونفيجريشن للرقم اللي بدنا نتصل فيه 70 مثلا 60 14 ماشي، نعمل كونفيجريشن للرقم، بصير الله العظيم بيعمل أفضل
كده
كونكشن شيء هون.
زبطك تكمل انا بعدين نشوفه.
كمل
طيب خلاص كملها وظبط ماشي.
كمل انت على اشياء دي.
هذا عن ال HID keyboard. It takes the data from the wireless keyboard, HID wireless keyboard. It takes the data from the keyboard and print it on the terminal. If I press مثلا caps lock, هذا لأنه وايرلس ما بيطلع على الليد مانجمنت، بس جربت على كيبورد عادي. الهوست sends the data out, يعني out the data sent from the host to the device for LED management, turning LED on كذا. جربت printing عادي وجربت من caps lock. الريبورت any event happens from the device, it sends a report to the host. The report is divided into key codes, which is the characters that I press, and the modifiers. Modifiers are special keys like control and shift. This is it. بعد في الماوس بس إذا في شيء.
طب هلا الكونكشن مع البي سي it's not only for power, it's for also displaying.
هذا wirelessly مع الديفايس.
بس قصدي your device is sending data to the PC
لا.
to be printed.
Terminal. Serial. Serial.
It's not only for power now. It's communicating with the PC.
ما في عندي
بقى عندك تليفونك؟
مصري جوب مصري.
التليفون بس
ماشي.
ماشي اشتغلت.
طيب خلاص.
في مشكله بالشغل بس.
اوكي.
خلصت؟
مش كمل.
طيب قول ماشي يا مصري.
الفكره برمج اول شيء
رقم التليفون اللي انت هتضربه. اي رقم يعني؟
اي رقم.
هيلا رقم. طب طلع رقم دكتور. رقم حضرتك
03 842 076.
ماشي. بعت لك SMS. بعد نفسك.
ايه هذا؟
المفروض هيبعت؟ وصل.
933
This is stand alone system. يعني ممكن تحطه في السيارة بتاعتك، تحطه في البيت، في الجبل، تحطه في أي مكان بلا كمبيوتر. أول ما يحصل انترودر يدخل يبتدي يبعت SMS أو يبعت كول أو وات ايفر يعني.
المفروض هلا يكون عم يبعت SMS sending SMS.
SMS فيها إيه؟
يحصل على confirmation بعتت SMS.
فيها إيه SMS مكتوب إيه؟ Happy Engineering Day. شوفها كده. أوكي.
المفروض نقدر نعرف تشارج ليفل. المفروض نقدر نعرف تشارج ليفل مشان اذا صار اي شيء بيبعث لك SMS انه بده تشريش مثلا. هلا شارج ليفل 42%.
charge
battery indicating the battery level.
بس هو هلا حاليا موصول على الباتري ولا موصول على
لا على الباور اوف ذا بي سي 5 volts from the PC on.
السيستم باتري
اذا كان موصول
إذا
على
كان،
البطاريه حتى لا يبعت.
لا تشارجنج ليفل هلا الفكره ما ضروري هلا اذا كون موصول على السيستم عشان يشارج
باتري التليفون.
اذا تحت
التليفون تاعك،
باتري التليفون.
بطاريه تاعت
الليفل
التليفون،
شو التليفون.
بطاريه للديفايس.
لا باتري
لا للتليفون.
أوكي.
والفكره انه وقتها هذيك الموديول وقتها كنا عم نشتغل عليه طول السنه صراحه ما بيزبط. ليه ما بعرف، لانه زبط على كل شيء ديفايس سي دي سي، على التليفون بالذات ما بيزبط. فطلع في تليفون مانيفاكتشر عاملين شغله ما بتقدر الا بدرايفر تعمل انترفيس عليه، لانه في شغله باخر ستيب بالانيوميريشن كنا عم نعمل صراحه برنت اف لنعرف وين غلطانين بالكود، فمش الحل. الفكره كان بدها شويه ديلي زياده، بس عملنا ديلي 1 سكند زياده مش الحل. كانت عم تعطينا ستول ما عاد عم تعطينا ستول. وكمان كان في شغله ثانيه كمان بعد ما ظبطناها، كان في شغله كمان بعتقد الرايت ما هيك ولا ريد بالرايت
اوت.
في شغله بالرايت كان لازم نعمل فريز للبايب قبل ما نبعتها.
فريز للان بايب.
فريز للان بايب قبل ما نبعتها، مع انها شغله ما موجوده بالداتا شيت وما موجوده باي كود.
هذه خاصه بالتليفون بس.
خاصه بس بالتليفون سي دي سي. اي سي دي سي ثاني بيشتغل عادي طبيعي. كل شيء موبايل فونز يعني، مش بس
مش بس نوكيا،
كل شيء
اي شيء. ده يونيفرسال بقى، دي الميزه. قبل كده واشتغل على موبايل سيريال انترفيس كان بيجي سوني اريكسون او سوني اريكسون.
لا على نوكيا
او نوكيا قديم.
اشتغلت عليها بطريقه قديمه السيريال، حتى ما كنت عم اشتغل على الطريقه هيدي اتي كوماندز، وفي طريقه فيديو هلا بعدين كنا عم اشتغل عليها فريم باي فريم. والفكره كانت انه هالفريم اذا بعتها على تليفون ثاني بيكون في شويه اختلافات ما بتشتغل
حسب نوع التليفون.
حسب نوع التليفون كانت تفرق. هيدي مفروضه على اي تليفون دعم.
طيب خلاص انت هتعمل لنا برزنتيشن على
هيدي بس البطاريه
خلاص مش مشكله، زي ما وصلت كيبورد الماوس شغال.
انديكيشن تبع الاكس والواي.
طب سريعا ورينا السلايدز برزنتيشن بريفنج كده بسرعه عشان بقيه الجروب. اوكي يعني بدون ديتيلز يعني. اوكي هلا 26 minutes. 26. Okay.
My project is composed of HID interfacing devices for interfacing the HID devices and the communication class device. Let's start with the HID. What is HID? Where do we find HID? We find them in keyboard and pointing devices such as mice for controlling devices such as switches and buttons for controls that can be found on devices such as data glove, that can be found on devices like in gaming and simulation. To define any device, you have to define its class, subclass, and interface. First of all, what is a class? A class, a group of devices that have the same class, they should have share the same device driver and have the same transfer data requirements. The V interface class for HID is 3. Okay, subclass subclass for HID can be 0 for no subclass and 1 for boot interface device subclass. The other are reserved. Boot interface subclass means devices that have predefined protocols such as keyboards and mice. Protocols can be 0, 1 for keyboard and 2 for mouse. Interface HID for connecting HID devices, you have to have control pipe and interrupt pipe. Control pipe, you use it to get to know about the device. You get descriptors, setting address, set configuration. Interrupt pipe are used for transmitting data, whether it is in data, it is from the host to the device, from the device to the host. In and out are referred to the host itself. Out data is transmitted out of the host, and in data is transmitted to the host. Interrupt does not mean what hardware designer might think of it as an immediate response. Instead, it is the host pulls the device every 10 frames to know if an event happens. This is the word I have used in USB devices. It has the microcontroller 89 USB 1286, external flash, and the joystick which is used for this microcontroller. I had problem with the USB key that it can be used as a host, so we had to breadboard the microcontroller itself I have to say that this microcontroller has a serial interface engine which is used in signaling the device, so I don't have to worry about this, though I have to worry about the low level of USB and getting descriptors and communicating with it. This flip is used for programming. It is published by Atmel. In debugging, I had to use the Microsoft free tool. It's simple and low size tool. It is used by Microsoft. USB view can be shown the configuration descriptor and the device descriptor. For the HID descriptor, you have to say to any device. You have to say about the device descriptor can be composed of one or many configuration descriptors. Each configuration descriptor has the interface descriptor and the HID descriptor. Interface descriptor says the maximum power can be handled by the bus, and the endpoint descriptors the size of the pipe and what kind of data it is, whether in or out. HID descriptor describes the physical descriptor of the device, what kind of device is this. Report descriptor, if an event happens by the device, it sends a report to the host. This report is sent by a mouse. It has 4 bytes. The first byte for the buttons, the second and the third byte for directions, and the third byte for wheel. The keyboard report has the modifier byte as I just said for special keys, control and shift and etc. Key code for the characters I have to post. The out report is sent for that measurement. This is the modifier bytes, shift, control, and alt. Key codes. You see here that A starts from 4. We'll use it later. An example of alt control delete. What happens if you press alt control delete? You first send the modifier byte as the left alt pressed. So you set its bit. Then you set the bit responsible for the right control, and at the same time for the left alt. Similarly, delete, you have to put its key code, and removing it, you have to clear its bits, corresponding bits. This code prints the data on the terminal as I just shown. If caps lock is 1, you send the capital letters. If caps lock is 0, you send the small letters. This terminates the HID. For communication device class or CDC, communication device class is used for communication devices that have several interfaces. Kind of CDC devices, telecommunication devices such as analog and digital phones, networking devices such as modems, DST, Ethernet equivalents. And it can be used also as a bridge for USB to RS-32 bridge. Architecture, the CDC host CDC device has 2 interfaces, the data class interface and the communication class interface. The data class for transmitting data, it has in and out endpoint. Communication class interface has the control endpoint, which is, as I just said, for getting the descriptors and know what kind of device it is. In endpoint, it's optional for notification device as a notification endpoint. Descriptors, device configuration interface, and endpoint descriptors. Device class descriptor of the CDC has the class 2 and no subclass and protocols used at this time. CDC configuration, it's standard as was explained by USB specification. It has the BM attributes and maximum power that can be taken from the bus. BM attributes, it says if the device is self-powered or bus powered, if the device is remote wake up. Okay, CDC interfaces, as I just said, it has 2 interfaces, CIC, communication interface class, and data class interface. CIC has the class code 02. The subclass we used here is the ACM, abstract control model for communicating mobiles, and the protocol we use the 80 commands. Data class interface, it has 0A and no subclass used for data class interface. B interface protocol can be used as the table before. Endpoint descriptors, also as been explained by the SP specification, to specify the size of the endpoint, whether it is an in endpoint or out endpoint, and the address of the endpoint. Okay, this is the architecture of the firmware that was developed by Atmel. Usually, you have to use a scheduler in this code to run two tasks, the USB tasks and the USB host tasks. USB task is responsible for enumeration. USB host task, for example, tells the interrupt that happen, device interrupt, connection, disconnection, suspend interrupt, what do you do if an interrupt happen. For the host CDC task, the special task.
skipping the details code details. ممكن تعمل skipping بقى للماتيريالز دي ها؟ بس ده شغل السنة كلها. خلاص طيب.
This scheduler you define this task and the task list. Okay, enumeration, what happens for any enumeration? Wait for device, I'll talk about this in detail. So reset the host, default state, getting the device descriptor, setting address and setting location.
نعم. الكود معاك الكود؟ هات لنا شوفها في الكود.
Is this what you wrote?
I'll show.
لا بيسأل إنه were these ready made or you coded them?
This part, is the standard part. Any device should have enumerated at the same time. The host TDC task is the user host code that, for example, I just wrote to dial 1456. I'll show it later. The task of the scheduler, define your task, what do you want to do in these tasks, and the task list, whether stop or not. Okay, for the state diagram, when the device is attached, it waits for the device to be connected, wait for some time. Then the host reset it to go to the default state to know that this device is addressed at the address 0 to talk at it. When it assigns it an address, it's talked to the new address and then configure the device. Waiting for the device, it waits for about 10 milliseconds to know if the device is signaling correctly. If it's not signaling correctly or signaling of the device is not as specified by the USB specification, this should not work. Reset by the host by setting this bit of the register H2WCon, getting the device descriptor by the request. This request get descriptor is specified by the USB specification. Request direction to host, you set this bit by 0. I have to mention here that W length is 8. At first, the host does not know what kind of control endpoint has a size of it. So we send at first the minimum size of the data, 8 bytes, and then when you get the first 8 bytes of the descriptor, it has in it the size of the control pipe, so you configure your pipe accordingly to the control endpoint. Setting the address, you set the address by the first request, send the request to the device. If it responded correctly, then you set the address by putting the address into the UHADDR register. Setting the configuration, of course, first of all, request when they get